Why was the 2010 Haiti earthquake so devastating? First, let's look back into what happened. The earthquake occurred January 12, 2010, lasting only 30 seconds, affecting the island of Hispaniola, which consists of the Dominican Republic and Haiti. The earthquake was also felt in Cuba, Jamaica, and Puerto Rico with a magnitude of 7.0. Haiti is between four different plates, making it a target of catastrophic and repeated plate movements and seismic activity. Some geologists observed a hidden thrust fault, the Liogane, and assumed it had rocks slip up the plane of fracture and may have been the cause of the earthquake after other observations were ruled out. However, the main consensus is that the North American and Caribbean plates released energy as they grinded against each other, as a transform boundary or a strike-slip fault. The earthquake of 2010 was specifically more destructive due to it being close to the capital city, Port-au-Prince, and the focal point or epicenter being very close to the Earth's surface. The conditions of the earthquake had major impacts that still affect Haiti today. The Haitian government estimates that about 300,000 people died, but other accounts suggest smaller numbers. Close to 1 million people were displaced, making it even harder to get an estimate of the death toll. 300,000 buildings were destroyed, mostly homes, hospitals, some cathedrals, and several Doctors Without Borders facilities were damaged. People lived in tent cities as they waited for foreign aid. These tent cities had no electricity, sewage, running water, and the tents fell apart. Before this natural disaster, Haiti was already in a crisis, with most of its population not having access to tap water, electricity, and issues such as rampant deforestation, extreme poverty, terrible infrastructure, agricultural supply issues, and urban sprawl existing. The National Assembly building was destroyed. The country lost its place to do official business, and is still conducting it in a temporary setting till this day. More than 1 million pets and farm animals died, were injured, or abandoned. Building rubble blocked roads and railways. A fifth of jobs were lost due to the earthquake, closing down manufacturing centers. Violence and looting broke out over delays of aid distribution that was desperately needed. The sea levels in local areas changed, and some parts of the land essentially sank into the sea. Haiti was isolated internationally with the destruction of their airport. The Haiti population rising and misplacement moved people to live on agricultural land, turning the viable lands into slums, spreading rampant tuberculosis and malaria. This caused major water pollution issues. The majority of why such an event had such a terrible impact was that Haiti was more prepared for hurricanes than earthquakes, even though they were susceptible to both. There is no tree protection, or very limited tree protection in Haiti due to deforestation, and most of the buildings were built with hurricanes in mind. Haiti is also the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere due to a history of exploitation, colonization, and occupation. This cycle of natural disasters and a failure to reinvest into Haiti and protection against earthquakes specifically leaves Haiti particularly vulnerable, and that can be seen by the catastrophic impact the earthquake just this year in 2021 caused. In 2010, some efforts were made globally. The Senegalese offered land to Haitians that wanted it, and the Dominican Republic offered support and to take in some of the refugees from Haiti. The U.S. provided emergency food relief for nearly 4 million people after the earthquake, making it the largest emergency food distribution ever. $13 billion of aid money was given to Haiti after the earthquake, but many people still struggle to recover and live in bad conditions. Haiti was still struggling to recover when it was hit by another earthquake on August 14, 2021, with a magnitude of 7.2. Its vulnerable condition continues the cycle of poverty and destruction, as it stays the target of many of the world's natural disasters. Rolling credits.